Okay, you're live.
That doesn't help you?
Really? Let me know. Maybe we're not going to do it. All right. Daf Lamed Zayin. We're holding by the two dots. Rabbi Yossi argues with the Tanakam. Tanakam says that if there's no mumcha, it works. Wow. There's a little bit of a delay.
It's always a delay. You can't have exact.
Goes through all the pipes and everything. Okay.
Yesterday, specifically, there was a problem from the beginning of the shoot.
Okay, we apologize for the problem yesterday. There's only 60 minutes left. 60 minutes total recorded. All right, so yesterday we learned in the Mishnah, right? You learned the Mishnah yesterday, Nachman? That the Tanakhama says that if there's no mumcha, you could use 3 b'nei knesset, 3 simple people to decide whether or not it's a mum. Rabbi Yossi says you always need a mumcha, even if you have 23 people, it doesn't help. What does Rav say? Rav says the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi. In other words, 3 people is enough.
You don't need a moment.
Shita, Yochid v'Rabim, halacha v'Rabim. The beginning of the Mishnah is the Rabbim, and the beginning of the Mishnah says that 3 is enough. So of course, halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi. Mal the same nimuka imay. That Rabbi Yossi always says good svaras. He's always very straight, and therefore maybe he should outdo the Tanakama. Rashi in another Masechta says nimuka is lashon of nim v'kaf, that it's like a plumb line. It's his seichel hayashar is unbelievable. He always says great logical things. So I would think that the halacha is like kim kumash malanat. Now, if you remember yesterday, if you go back down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines from the bottom, it says Omer Rav Yudah Omer Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, and the Gemara says an interesting lashon: Safek mishmei de Rav, Safek mishmei de Shmuel. He wasn't sure if he heard it from Rav or from Shmuel. That what? Shloishim matiris abachar, 3 people are enough. Says the Gemara, Tifshit Mahal, I can prove to you whether he heard it from Rav or from Shmuel. Tifshit Mahal, the hach kamaisa mishmei de Shmuel is man. That the halacha that 3 is enough and you don't need a mumcha, is actually Shmuel who said it and not Rav. This is a very interesting yisoid in Shas. The mishmei de Rav, tarti lamali. It doesn't make sense that Rav would say the same point in 2 different ways. That he would say, on one hand, ein halacha kir yosi, which means in what's the word? Not in sign language. In a remez. Ein halacha kir yosi means, but the halacha is that all you need is 3 people, not a mumcha. And on the other hand, he would go and say, halacha is that shleish matir misabachar b'mokim she'em mumcha. He wouldn't say those 2 things. It's too much to remember. Remember that there's no Gemara, everything is Balpeh. So if you want to say what the halacha is, either say the halacha is not like Rabbi Yossi, or you say that if you have 3 people, that's good. But don't say the 2 things. So Meila makes sense, says the Gemara, that it was Shmuel who said it. Why would he have to say 2 things in 2 different ways? Says the Gemara, no, that's not a great raya. We learn it out from the other thing. He said just 1. He said that Allah is not like Rabbi Yossi, let's say he said before this thing. It makes more sense. He said 3 is enough to be matter. And in Meila, we know that Allah is not like Rabbi Yossi, that even 23 is not enough. Says the Mishnah. Somebody shechted a bechor without bringing the mum to the Rav, to the Chacham. And then it became known that he didn't show it to the rabbi. So Masha Achlu. So we have to give the guy a knas for selling off bechor meat that's asur b'hana. Sold it off as regular meat. So Masha Achlu. So if they enjoyed a good meal, it's their benefit. The yachzor lahem ha'adomim, and he has to pay them back everything, even what they ate.
So this is the Kohen who sold it to ordinary people, and
Correct. The Kohen has a bechor, he sells it to a zar. The zar paid $1,000 for it, and he made a barbecue worth $500.
And it's the Kohen who cheated on the
No, I don't know that the Kohen cheated. It could be the
he didn't.
Yisrael.
He didn't. No,
So you mean the
It's a
Kohen
Kohen
knew
that
the Kohen
didn't
was a
show.
Bechor,
He was the
and
one.
right, he didn't
He
have.
was the one who didn't
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
Kohen didn't show.
Whatever's left of the animal, they bury.
So let's say he made a barbecue, made a siyum, and the siyum cost him $500, but the guy paid for the animal $1,000. So he gets to use the $500. The Yisrael who bought it, he already had a whole barbecue worth $500. He still gets back $1,000 that he paid for the animal. So he got a free barbecue. Uma shelo yochlu, and whatever they didn't eat, it's still also bahana because it's a bechor that doesn't have a mum and he shechted habasa you cover. V'yachzer sadomim, you have to bury the meat because there's not a lot of anah from it, and you give back the money. V'chein, this is a knas. V'chein would mean that the same halacha applies, the same exact halacha. So let's see inside how that applies. Hashoichen is a paro mechora v'noida she treifa. So if you sell a cow, and you found out after you sold it, you found out it's a treifa. You weren't allowed to sell it. Masha achlu, and the Shita Mekubetza sticks in the words v'yachzer damim, because we're saying v'chein. It's the same halacha. So if it's the same halacha, you can't just masha achlu. You have to also give back the money, like in the Reisha. There's some sort of knas. What's the knas? The knas would have to be, the Acharonim explain, because he knew that it was a treifa. Because if he didn't know it was a treifa, they just opened up the animal, they found a punctured heart. You're not going to give him a knas for that. So he knew it's a treifa, so we give him a knas, so therefore he has to return the money, masha achlu achlu. And they gain that whatever they ate and benefited from it, they don't have to pay for. Masha lo achlu, because the basar is not basar bahana. So give it back to the owner, let him do whatever he wants with it. And he'll give them the difference.
Do they have a choice? Do we say Adam al Aliyana? Let's say they want to keep the basar for the price of the hana and just get back the difference. Let's say they don't want to be matriach to go to the
Now what are we talking about? We're talking about that he knew.
Yeah.
If he didn't know, so then why not? If it's a mekach tos, so then maybe not. But he tried to fool them, and now they want to take advantage of them being fooled. I don't see an issue with that.
Adam al Aliyana.
Yeah, why not?
They could choose.
The only way you'd be right is if it's a mekach tos. But there's no mekach tos here. It was a mekach ra. The guy did it on purpose. He tried to fool them. So the buyer, the Yisrael who bought it, well, not the Yisrael, we're talking about a treifa, but the buyer took it and resold it to a goy, or he gave it to the dogs. Now there's no difference. There's no sin over here. There's no chet. There's no avera. The guy that bought it was never over Isser, so the guy that sold it really doesn't deserve a knas, because no harm was done.
Well, he knew it was being bought for
No.
dog meat.
It doesn't matter what he knew. He sold. Maybe he didn't care that they're going to eat treifa, but he got lucky. They didn't eat treifa, so memela we don't have to give him a knas. But yishalmu dmei treifa. So the seller, the way it's understood is interesting wording here, but basically he just has to pay the difference.
Why?
So if let's say it cost him $1,000, he sold it for $1,000. The guy was able to sell it for $100. He realized it's treifa. He sold it for $100 to the Jew. So the Jew has to give him $900.
Wait, because he realized it's a treifa, that's why he did it, or he did it because he just wanted
Yeah, I
to
don't
sell
know.
it?
Who knows? Mustama. That's
What's the
why.
big
Why would he sell it? Why would he give it to the dog?
That's what I'm saying. If
Why
I
would
go
he
to
give it-
Yesh and I buy kosher meat and I decide to give it to the dog, that's my problem. Why should you have to pay for that? Right?
No, but at the end of the day, he had no choice but to give it to the dog. He sold something that's only good for the dog. The reason why he did it is none of your business. You sold me a bad product. You sold me a dog product. But what's interesting here is it's even more than that. There's a big chiddush here that if the guy made profit on it, let's say kosher meat badatz for $1,000, but he was able to sell it to the guy because it has the hind part, whatever. It's worth more. Sold for $2,000. So now the Yisrael benefits. He can make money on it. Now, in other words, he makes double money because the Jew has to give him the difference between the treifa and kosher meat. Plus, he made money on the overage. Yeah? Nachamal. Treifa meat only cost $100. He sold it for $1,000. So the Jew bought it for $1,000. Then the Jew turned it around and sold to the guy for $2,000. So he made $1,000 profit. Now the original seller has to give the middleman. He has to give him another $900. The difference between treif and kosher. So he made $1,900. Tremendous chiddush. You hear?
Yeah, but that,
You can't go say, "Oh, you made money." But the Maisi made money. The middleman made money.
but
It's
that
all
guy
this-
did something
that's
wrong.
logical because the middleman is a wholesaler and that's his business. To
Yeah.
turn around the meat and make a profit.
Mhm.
So why shouldn't he keep that profit?
Yeah, but why should he also get the difference between the treif meat
Yeah,
and the kosher meat? But that's the knas, yeah, exactly. That's what he's saying. That's the knas.
It's a big difference in Jewish law. Goyish law. All knossim go to the other party, whereas in Goyish law,
Goes
you get a
to
knas, goes to
government?
the state, goes to the government.
Well, sometimes they give a knas. They say you have to pay the defendant or whatever.
That's
Different.
different.
Tana Rabbana. The same case as our Mishnah. He sold his friend a bechor. Herois v'nimtzu tvalim. He sold him fruit, but there wasn't meiser. Yayin v'nimtzu yayin esach. The wine is worthless. It's avodah zarah wine. Masha achlu achlu v'yachzir lamis hadomim. Whatever they ate is their benefit, and the seller has to return all the money. I'd like you to look in Rashi for a second because I had a big machlokes with my chavrusi yesterday. Yachzulam mesadomim, Yachzulam kol hadomim. You see Rashi? Rashi says a very interesting thing. The Shiloh, what he says here. Masha ochlu eino nehen elahem, mishosh shenoid elahem. So there's two ways to read Rashi. The way my chavrusi read it is that once a person finds out that he was eating treif, he was eating yayin esach, he was drinking yayin esach, so the hana that he had the day before goes away. Retroactively, the hana goes away. Noam makes a face. I also make a face. I learned that when he had a lot of hana, at the table he drank, he got shikr, it was worth $100. But when he found out that he drank yayin esach, he had such tsar, there was $100 worth of tsar. So the $200 of tsar undoes the hana that he had. We can't take away hana a person has. Once a person has hana, you can't say, "Oh, he didn't have a steak." So he gave me this meshugana mashal. He says a person had an unbelievable steak. He's so.
But the guy had a
he's so-
steak and then he got sick from the steak and he was so
No, but at the
sick
time,
afterwards.
right? That's his
hana?
mashal. His mashal is worse though. Listen to this crazy mashal. He said a guy had a steak. He enjoyed it a lot. He's like talking about his.
It says
Not
kol
really.
masha achlu. You're
I'm saying
not kol masha achlu.
because of it erases it.
You're saying-
No, I'm saying in terms of hana, he had hana
You're
here,
saying
he had a
here,
minus
the lack
hana
of
here, and then he
hana
erases it.
of
The
sad.
other problem is that Rashi's goes kol hadamim, and the Gemara says it's a damim.
Okay, that's Rashi always does that.
No,
Differences,
because
different.
according to your Chavrusa, kol hadamim
That's
would
the
be from
people with the
yesterday.
Muncie.
A dam would be from today.
That's the man, don't-
I still have
You
that
missed the
mashal.
marshal, the crazy marshal. It's a
I- I-
wild.
I-
It's
yeah.
a crazy marshal is that a guy ate a steak, had a lot of hana, and then a few hours later they told him, by the way, it was your mother. So he said that's what he's gonna go. He's gonna be so grossed out that all you could remove the hana retroactively. That's what he holds.
His mother.
Yeah, he's upset at me.
Why to come
I
so
don't
far?
understand this concept of removing hana retroactively. I don't get it.
People are saying, "Would you
To come up to that so far, such a far muscle.
Yeah,
This
it's a
little
little
guy got
bit.
sick and he was in the bathroom for the next 12 hours.
So what? I do that all the time. I can't eat.
12 hours?
Yes, I can't eat.
Wow, no wonder you like
I can't
shit.
eat the milkshakes. I'm lactose intolerant, but sometimes I love pizza. That's my favorite thing. So sometimes I'll eat pizza, take the medication, and it doesn't work, and then you suffer later on. The suffering, one thing has nothing to do with the other. Here, I had a lot of enough for my pizza. Then I spent the whole night in the bathroom. So fine. But that's
Really, you
100
don't
cents.
see
So
that?
here's
You don't see
I got $100 worth of enough for
You
the
don't see
pizza and
that would
$200 in
ruin
the
that,
bathroom.
no? You don't see that?
No, you can't undo hana. You can't undo that.
I know.
It's
like that's how you
Like somebody getting divorced. You can undo everything that you had. He had a terrible. Now he has a terrible. He realizes his wife is mishug, but all the years that he had with her gets erased. From here on, you have to make a cheshbon. Was it worth it or not? This is a good cheshbon. I had this on. I don't know.
Maybe
You tell me what you think.
There's
Like
two,
to hear.
There's two hanas. There's a hana while you're actually eating it,
Yeah.
And I know when you finished eating it, and
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
So the thing afterwards, you can undo.
Exactly. But he's saying you can undo retroactive. I know you could
That
retroactive.
is
Is this barrel? I'm afraid you had zero. I know that.
That is
I don't get that.
Afterwards.
I don't know. Fine.
The anticipation.
All those people in Muncie, they threw up. They had anxiety. They had to go to psychologist.
threw
But
up.
it doesn't mean.
No one threw up anything.
It doesn't mean that okay. They had to go to psychologist.
So it was.
They were
They
grossed
ate it a
out.
long time.
It doesn't mean that they didn't have
threw out the
Geshmak
dishwashers on his lawn. That they did. They got
Back to your friend.
He's very ambiguous. He says, "Ein lahem yoser shum hana mimashach yoser."
Yeah,
Yoser.
means in the
Afterward is a
back.
bit more positive. It says that,
in the future.
whatever
like you.
pleasure they may have derived when eating them is negated when they became
Negated.
Negated. Not
No,
undone.
that
when they
means
became aware.
Negated
of
means
something.
negated
Negated.
means
Manifest.
yeah, negated means la'aba. I don't know.
No, you say
I don't think
negated.
so. Negated doesn't mean
Fine.
la'aba.
No, I
Negated. I
Negated
think
means
it's
I'm
past,
afraid.
but because
Yeah.
doesn't matter. That doesn't answer because it's more like.
Yeah.
Means
I'm
it's
saying it's
canceled
vague.
out.
All right, let's go back there for 10 minutes. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Oimer, he doesn't hold this whole thing at Knas. He says it depends. Things that you're literally grossed out from, then they had no ano from it. So what Beilim Dvarim Shanevish
What does
Kotzabehem?
immaculate mean to do?
You had the difference. You had a no. Okay, so you take your $5 a no. That I'm not going to give
know it
you
was
that.
a disgusting thing.
No, if it's not disgusting.
Nobody says if it's a
If
disgusting.
it's disgusting,
And
you
what
get everything
didn't know
back.
was disgusting.
Right.
What happened?
You found out later that's a
afterwards it's
Bechor.
disgusting.
You wouldn't eat it if not. You found out later it's treifa. You found out later it's whatever. So let's see what the list is. Veilim Dvarim Shanevish Kotzabehem. Very, it makes a lot of sense. Nevelois utreifois. Let's talk about an animal that just drops dead. Not an animal that you shecht and you found that it wasn't a good shechita. But an animal that drops dead is disgusting. Even goyim don't eat it. Utreifois. Shkotzer v'masim. Nobody eats a rat unless it's certain good. Veilim Dvarim Shanevish Kotzabehem. Bechoros tevolim v'yayin nesach. A bechor is a regular animal. You're not going to be disgusted from it. Halachically, you shouldn't have eaten it. Tevel. It's the same apple whether you take trumas and maishas. You are beiser. So it's talking about literally being grossed out from something that retroactive. Depends if you learn retroactive or from here on. You're so disgusted from here that it negated and therefore he has to pay everything back. Versus yain nesach, it's good wine. It just has to be avodah zarah.
With the Muncie case where you were selling trade for meat.
Yeah.
Right? That wasn't something. People were very upset afterwards that they'd eaten trade for meat.
Right.
But
was
that's,
Geschmack meal.
that's not. But that's not what he's talking about. The fact that you're upset about it because that's regular meat.
They don't know if it was regular.
No.
There they had
It was treif chazer.
It wasn't chazer.
Not chazer.
It was
Treif.
treif.
Yeah, but it's not something that's more.
It could have been Nevelis, it could have been treifus over there.
No, over there wasn't Nevelis treifus because going don't do Nevelis treifus. They killed it. It's a shechita of a Nevela.
Right.
Not a chicken that dies.
Right.
A chicken that dies is really gross. Nobody wants that. As the Gemara Bechor, they say it's asabano.
They had ongoing financial loss.
Why are we removing his ano? In a Bechor we said is not something that nafshi kotza. He's not grossed out. So the seller could reduce his ano. But why? At the end of the day, the seller had zero hana from this animal. He wouldn't have hana to begin with. So why are we reducing? Just give him whatever he deserved in the beginning. What does he gain from his Bechor animal? Zero. So the seller should have zero. Why is he taking off the value of a good steak? Says the Gemara, the buyer ate from the mum. Let's say the mum was the ear, so he sold him the ear. Now the ear is consumed. If you wouldn't have eaten that ear, I could have shown it to a Rav, and he would have told me if it's a good mum or not. Kirib Yehuda. A better case would be like a thigh, like a broken bone in the thigh. So he ate a geshmak, a piece of steak, but in that is what the Rav could tell whether or not it's a mum or not a mum. And then I hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and that the Rav, like we had the machlokes, whether or not you can go after the death of the animal and check out the animal and say this is a good mum or not. And Mamela, you caused me a loss because now I can't see it. So I'm deducting from you. Just because it's tevel, I could fix it. So Mela, I have to take off the enjoyment that you had from the fruit. Yain nesach, we're not talking about regular avodah zarah. ayidei taroivus. So let's pretend that there was one bottle of Avodah Zarah wine mixed in a regular, good, normal, kosher bottle of wine. If Yainesa fell into a pit with kosher wine, everything becomes asvano because it's all touching the Yainesa. This taroives yimocher kule legoyim chutz mit me Yainesa shubai. So Shimon Gamliel says you have the option: sell the 2 bottles to a goy, and just take off 1 bottle of profit. So over here, that the Jew drank both bottles, the seller lost out on 1 bottle. One is Taka Yainesa, but one is the taroives Yainesa according to Shimon Gamliel. Hadron aloch kopsulim doshim, hadron aloch kopsulim doshim, hadron aloch kopsulim doshim. Al elu mumim shochadim sabachor. Mishnah brings 4 types of mumim in the ear. Nivgema, if it's missing a tiny piece, we're going to see it's literally tiny, to the point where you just run your thumb over like we did with the knife. Rashi says, if it just stops for a millisecond in that gima, that's enough to cause it a mum min hachaschus, the cartilage. So in other words, it can't be this part of the ear, the bottom part, it's the top part, the cartilage. Nizdaka, if it has a crack, even if nothing is physically missing, that's a mum. So that's mum number 2. Nikva meloy karshino, oy shiavsha, if it has the hole the size of a bean called karshino. I actually have the picture here. The next part of the story will be shown now. Karshino. Nope, it's the size of the karshino.
Boris Karashina.
What's a karshina?
Vetch.
What is a karshino? You're looking at it. This is a karshino. Vetch. Rashi says vich. So it's a vetch. Yeah. Rashi on the base says
I
vetch.
assume this is an enlargement.
It's almost like a lentil, but it's not. As the Gemara says, mafurish, it's not a lentil. It's a slightly larger than a lentil. Zog the Gemara says the Mishnah. Nikva meloy karshino yishiyavsha. Ezu yivesha. It's dry enough. We had this in Chulin, if you remember. I guess they brought this Mishnah that the ear is so dry that if you puncture it, no blood will come out. This is really gross. You give it a little flick, and it falls apart. That's a big difference between the 2 shittas, because the first one is the ear is intact, it just doesn't bleed. Okay, it's really bad. But over here, it falls apart. It's like a very, I've never seen anything like that, but I guess there's a certain stage.
It's all dried out.
So dry that it's like, it's not a part of the animal for a long time. What?
It's like when you have dry skin. It
Okay.
falls off.
I've seen it on a person.
What?
I've seen it on a person.
Really?
Frostbite.
And you give it a flick, it'll, could it grow back though if you warm them up?
I'm afraid I ran away.
You saw with your own eyes. Okay. Says the Gemara. It says in the pasuk.
They would have tried Mount Everest.
Look at this interesting pasuk. I mean, we know how to do this, right?
For the 3rd time.
After Zvachim, the Chiyeh by mum in red. What does mum mean? Any mum in the world. Pisecho Iver. So the pasuk is a prat. This is a classic klal or brother klal. The first mum means any mum. Then the Torah describes the mum. Pisecho Iver. He's blind or he's limping. He's broken leg. Then it says kol mumra. Any bad mum. So you have a classic klal or brother klal. So why are these mumim a mum in the Mishnah? Nivgam oznai. Where does it say it in the pasuk? Amai pisech ve'iver ksiv. It has to be a serious mum. It has to be blindness. How can you compare a little nick in the ear to blindness? Ksiv nami kiyevoy mum. Okay, any mum. Ve'ima kiyevoy mum klal. Pisech ve'iver prat. It explains to you only a iver. Klal prat ema klal mashma prat. Pisech ve'iver in midach min eloi. So this should tell us that a cut ear is nothing. Kol mumra, but because the Torah says all the way at the end of the pasuk, Kol mumra, chazav v'kolal. Klal prat v'klal, iyatadod elokein prat, ma prat. So what properties do the seyach and iver have? L'chayra, they're visible, and Ma pram mefurish mum shebegoli ve'eino chayzrim. They don't heal. Once the animal's blind in his eye, it doesn't go back. I guess if an animal has a broken leg, it doesn't go back. I know that by horses, they euthanize, they shoot the horse on the spot. You're not good for me. Thanks for your work. You won a lot of races for me, but now that you have a broken leg, goodbye, shalom. But I don't know if that, I guess that applies also by cows and by other animals. They don't have casts, they don't have these things, so they're worthless. They'll die.
No, but a cow can have an offspring, or something, have a offspring, give milk and things, no?
Yeah, but we can't stand.
Now we have the whole
You can't fix a
sugya.
broken leg, you can't.
Ma prat mefurish mum shebegoli. No, we have a treifa ken. That machlokes over here is different.
No.
Ma prat mefurish mum shebegoli ve'eino chayzrim afkol mum shebegoli ve'eino chayzrim. Ve'ema ma prat mefurish mum shebegoli ugudim melachto ve'eino chayzrim. L'maisa, at the end of the day, there's another characteristic here. This limb, this eye cannot function. It can't do what it was made to do. It can't see. You can't use it for walking. It's bottom melachto. Oh, what the problem be? The problem would be the ear of our Mishnah. It says that if you have a problem with the cartilage, it's no good. Why? It's not bottom melachto. This animal could hear just as well as he heard before. It says the Gemara, so now the Gemara goes away from this cloud of cloud. The Gemara says the word kol means everything. It's a ribuy, and memela, it tells me even a damaged ear. So kol means everything. So why does it have to be begoli? We had this the other day, the gums that are visible, that are chaser, they're missing a piece. Or shenigmimu, they have a split. And the back ones, only if they are completely uprooted, nekru in, the rear ones not. So what do you see? Because you see that you need mum shmegaloy. Says the Gemara, being a mum rav, like over there, it's because you need a really bad injury, and you don't, and if it's not uprooted, it's not a bad injury. If we say the word kol, mum overnami, kol mumra, any bad injury, who told you to say that if it heals in 2 months from now, it's not considered a bad injury? When it comes to the ear, it can't be if you puncture the earlobe, it's not a problem. Why not? It should be included in kol mum. Kol mum, says the Gemara, mum oiver svaruhu. We have a kavachomer hashta. If you have an animal that you designated as a carbon and it has a hole in its ear, so you can't redeem it. You can't say, oh, this is a psul mikdashim and I'm going to redeem it. You can't even redeem it from a psul mikdashim. You're going to go shecht it. You're going to make a whole scene out of this bechor and say you can shecht it. No. This is an interesting puzzle. No need for a chart because the Gemara brings all the words there. The Torah says if you start reading the puzzle, you understand that it means what does behemoth mean? A pig, a donkey. Says the Gemara, no, you read it wrong. We're not referring to a real behemoth man. We're talking about a kosher behemoth that has a mum. How do you know? The pasuk started behemoth male. So why? You can never be makar of it. Of course you can. It's behemoth male. So it's referring to a mum, an animal that had a mum, and you redeem it. Yakrivu means in the future. You can never be makar of this animal. But mum oiver is not included in that word yakrivu, so mainly we know that mum oiver is not a problem. If it would just say kol mum ra, imkain pisev iver lamali.
And it meant also a mum oiver.
Yeah, then why does the Torah say specifically bitzecha iver? The Torah has no reason to give us these crazy mum blindness if it also means a mum oiver. Zok the Gemara, nizdika. We're talking about the ear. The ear had a slit. Nothing's missing, and it's a mum. If it has this slit, it's kol shehu. Is this where Rashi says it? No, I think a little later. Who's that Rashi? No. Habgimo bein bidei odom bein bidei shomayim. But the tzedek, it doesn't say anything who did it. It just says tzedek kol shu. The begima, it's missing a little piece. Bein bidei odom bein bidei shomayim. Miklal the tzedek bidei shomayim loy. Because the fact that it doesn't even mention anything bidei shomayim. So I'd say tzedek is, if it happened naturally, then it's not considered a mum. Does it make sense? Elo tzedek ubegimo bein bidei shomayim. You have to read it that both things are talking about bidei shomayim bein bidei odom. Oh, here, this is where Rashi says it. So Rashi says the tziporen, he says, like a knife. So if you take your I remember Noam doing it. I don't know if everybody else did it. When Noam brought the shkita knife, you take your thumb, you take your nail, and you run it through, and if it, like you feel a little jump, and that is considered a mum kavua in an ear of an animal. Unbelievable. That's what the Torah tells us. You want to know mum, you really can't see something like that.
That's why you need a mumcha.
That's why you need a
Yeah, and that you need a mumcha. Because only a mumcha could run his finger, because I ran my finger on the knife, I didn't feel any begimas. And then he showed us how to do it, and then all of a sudden you can feel it.
Then you stop bleeding.
If you don't, yeah, mumcha. But you're not going to bleed on the ear. Nikva Maloi. So now we're talking about it. There was a hole the size of this karshino. Tana Rabbanon. Kavanekivas Oizen, Meloi Karshino, like this vetch. Again, I don't remember where Rashi said it, but I saw it says Vicho in Rashi somewhere. In this sugya. If you find it, let me know where it is.
It says Hinda Rashi. Rashi Hinda.
No, here. Ubeloshin Laz, Vetcha, Vich. You see?
Yeah.
Hinda, Beloshin Zeh, Makir, Beloshin Laz, Vetcha. Which is vetch. Kalim Kivis Oizen, Melokashin in French. Vetch, and that's how the art school knows it means vetch. A lentil is slightly smaller than a karshino. That we had in the Mishnah. The machlok is whether or not its blood comes out or it falls apart. Which one? Who's the very similar the two shitas? We just said four things. We said a lentil and a vetch and a karshina, and we said falling apart and blood out of the ear. And they're very similar. The two shitas are similar. Which ones? There's a huge difference between an ear falling apart from frostbite or an ear that doesn't bleed. So we're talking about the difference in size between karshina and Kadasha is very, very minute. As the Gemara, Kadasha in, Botzum Kadasha loy. You're telling me that the hole in the ear has to be the size of a lentil. Lentil is pretty big, right? It's at least a centimeter. I don't know, how big is a lentil? It's a nice size. Vermini, now we're going to the Eved Ivri. Martseya, ain't the yellow Martseya. A Martseya itself means this tool over here, the owl. All, how do you pronounce it? All. Not owl. All. AWL, this guy, pretty scary tool. This is a needle, it's the size, not mamish, the awl. This is a scarier tool. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but this is like the smallest one I've seen, an auger. This is coming up. So
what do you do with it?
Corkscrew.
you corkscrew his ear. You go until you
use
get,
that to corkscrew
yeah.
the ear?
You could either
What's
put
the
his
job
ear,
of that thing, that's
just to make a hole in the ground, or no, in wood.
wood.
Yeah, this is like before they had drills. You start the hole with the smaller one, and then you get bigger and bigger. Today they use this also, but to make holes in the ground.
There are tools which are like the awl, but instead at the end of it, instead of being a sharp point,
Like
it's got a
this,
screw.
maybe like this.
No,
Yeah, it's a
it's
rattle.
like- It's like
This is a
the
screw. This is a screw on the bottom. You
Yeah.
don't see?
Yeah.
The little
I
screw.
think it's called a bradle.
A who?
Bradle. Bradle.
Not in English. In English.
In England, it's called that.
In America they use
Might say in the rabbis has soil. How do I know I can use a piece of wood, a splinter, Vasira, thorn. Va'machat. We're going to be using this machat soon. The needle. The hole is very, very minute, very small. Va'magdeach. So this is the magdeach, basically, something like this. And that's what they call today, like a drill, like a, whatever, it's an auger. Va'machdev, Rashi says, is 8 barzel, some sort of metal tool. Anything you can take by hand. What does it come to exclude? Anybody remember the sugya? It comes to exclude poison, liquid. But you don't take it by hand. You just put it on there and it'll drill a hole in his ear. You can't use that for martzei. Rabbi Omer, martzeya, ma martzei miyuchad shel mateches, avkol shel mateches. Has to be metal.
What is Martzea?
Martzeya is this guy, metal. So it comes to exclude a thorn, a kite, a splinter. V'ktani seif Amar Rabbi Lazar, Yudon v'Ribi Haydairish, Yudon again. Ribi Rashi always says Hadar Keshei Roitzin in Roitzin Ela v'Milos. Where do you do the ritzia? In this part of the ear, in the soft part. The Rebbe always used to do. Always in Shamal Arsin, I know.
But it doesn't it grow back?
Oh, v'chacham v'imrim. Ein evidivri koyin nirtzo mipnei shenas bal mum. You can't do it for a koyin because you're creating a mum. So he writes in, and if you say that they did in the soft part of the ear, so it seems like everybody agrees that you do it on top. And one of the tools that you use is a machat. So what's the size? This is the size. So why are you telling me this is the size? Why are you telling me karshino? It's even the size of a machat, a small needle. We want to give it. We want to be able to bring this carbon on the mizbeach, this bechor on the mizbeach. So in order to bring it onto the mizbeach, this 2 shiurim, you need the greater shear of a karshino. Can't live so, but if we're talking about not letting the kohen do avoid in the Beis Hamikdash, if he has even a puncture the size of a needle, then he can't do that avodah. My karshino, Omer Rashrevio, Hinda is vicha. Maya boy minei ravoishim ravuna meravo. Karshina nechneses v'yoitza. Karshina medicine. This is going to be until the end of the sugya today. How big is this karshina? This veg? Is it the size of a veg, literally, or it could go in and out of the ear with a little bit more? When you look at the hole of the ear, it says karshina. So you're looking at the karshina, looking at the hole, like a fit of karshina. So that you need a little bit more of a. You need a little wiggle room, so it's a greater shear.
Like earrings, like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring a picture of that. I saw some nice. I was looking for. I typed in world's largest fist because it's coming up, and what came up? The world's largest earlobe hole is literally this big.
The Schwarz in Africa.
Yeah, this guy was. I'm a shugana. He had like holes in his lips and his whatever. But you could put a karshina right through, no problem. Put a watermelon through. So I could prove to you whether or not the karshina means the size of the karshina is larger. It's not. We're talking about a human skeleton. If they're missing a part, one vertebra. So in other words, yeah, 1 or 2. But we don't care about that. But this is important to us. How much the skull is missing? Bishame say the size of an auger, a bit, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get to what exactly that shear is. How much does it mean to us? The person has to die from it. If he's alive, a hole great enough that he would die from it. No. Now we're going. We just sugi of Ebed. We're going. It's something similar. The Gemara says. We say now we're talking tumas hameis. You have a skeleton in a room. Everything in the room becomes tamei. But if 2 vertebrae are missing, he's not. If a giant hole in the skull is missing, the size of if he, according to Beisilo, if he was alive, he would have died. That's not considered a gulgoyles.
They used to do operations by drilling holes in the skull.
They still do today.
Yeah, okay.
The question is how large of a hole can a person walk around with?
Somebody has a headache.
I'm saying I don't think a person can walk around with any hole. No,
Have a plate.
without a cover.
They have a plate.
I mean, but they put the skin back and they're
If it's a cranial bleeding due to
I
a
think it's talking
trauma,
more.
they drill a hole, they release the pressure.
yeah.
That person
Okay,
lives.
but the person doesn't need a skull really, like a baby, whatever. So I'm thinking like the whole through and through. Okay, but that's not what happened
You're
there.
talking about-
Obviously, you don't know what happened during his life. You found a skull missing a part.
Yeah, you talk about the Chinese shot him.
Who?
The Chinese
Yeah.
shoot people and then they harvest the organ.
Right.
So that's a hole in the head and that's it.
Why is that unique to Chinese?
Yeah,
Because they do 10,000 a year.
rest.
Okay. We have to get to the point. The point is the Gemara is going to try to prove
That's it.
what the shear is and what's the difference between Bisham and Basil. Because they're saying basically the same exact shear. And the Gemara is going to come out the maskana. The difference in the shear is one is exactly Magdech, and Bisham holds the Magdech and a little bit more. When you go around like this to get the sawdust out. So how do we get to there? Rav Tachlifa said, this is what Shmuel said, Kisela. Oh, that Beis Hillel is talking about the size of a sela. Okay, so now we have a shear. It's not Kadesh Yomos, but now we know what it looks like. It's the size of a sela. Like a third of a tefach, let's say. Vidmar, Rav Safra, Omar, Shmaitza, Omar Lei, the Rav Tachlifa said, Hocham Shmuel. Was this a Shmuel? Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda Bar Masnis Omar Lei, Rav Tachlifa said in the name of Shmuel, a Brisa of Simona, Tani Rav Shmuel Bar Yehuda, it was actually a Brisa, fine. Comes out that the shear of a sela that Basil says the same exact shear of Bishamai that says Makdeh. How do we know? It's not Ma'or Shel Nasbi the Adam, an opening, a window between two rooms that creates a flow for the tumah. If you have two rooms and you have a dead person in one room, the tumah goes through the window. What's the size? Shiroi Meloi Egrev Gadol, a huge fist. How big? V'zeu Grevish Shel Ben Avatiach. It's the size of an NBA player. The kids are like the size of a head of a human being. Nasi le'odam, what if it was done by a human? Here, this is the key word here. It's the size of a auger. So you see that a Magdeach is the size of a sela. So basically, Beis Shammai that says Magdeach are saying exactly the same thing as Beis Hillel that say Kisela. So what's the difference? It's the same size of the whole of the oil. Ishtik. I have an answer. Shema Magdeach v'chisumay sheninu. Beis Shammai, when they said Magdeach, they mean together with the sawdust. You know, when you ever drilled a hole in anything, so when you're done with the drill, you go like this back and forth and you try to clean it out a little bit. So it's a little larger than the actual drill bit. Don't say maybe. So now you're asking me, how much is a karshina? It's karshina according to Beis Shammai with a little bit more. And you should, this is the halacha, like we say, tomorrow we're going to learn about Chizkiyo Avi Ikesh, but remember that's the halacha. It's kisumai. It's a little bit larger than the actual bit. Have a great Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, 9:15. I'm trying to give it Noam to give the shir again on Motzei Shabbos, 9:15.
Very difficult blood coming out.